me.
ゲームをしよう。
T ですが、玲子ですか？
もしもし。
9月9日ネオジオ CD 新登場
SNK
ゲームをしよう。
9月9日ネオジオ CD 新登場
ゲームをしよう。
キングも侍も玲子に負けた。このままでは。
ソフト続々ネオジオ CD
こうしてこっち早く。そう。
係長上手。
いやいやいや。
闇に滅せよ。
おやじ。
玲子。
野郎もキングも侍もソフト続々ネオジオ CD
SNK
Hello guys, Junior back again. Well, it's been 6 years since the start of the NEO-GEO Thread on the Atari forums, and they're celebrating their 6-year birthday. So I thought I'd do a video. And I've got a nice little piece of kit here, which I picked up in Osaka in Japan when I was there. It was one of the two things I really wanted to get when I was there. And the other one was a Super Graphics, PC Engine Super Graphics. But I wanted a NeoGeo CDZ. I say in the past, I used to have a NeoGeo back in the day when they first come out. I did a story on that before where I bought a Mega CD when they first come out, which was a bit of a mistake. And then I ended up selling that pretty fast, and then bought myself a NeoGeo AES. I enjoyed the NeoGeo for a few years, and obviously it didn't have a lot of games because the expense of it, but I did manage to get on a. I found a few people in the papers and sort of back of magazines who were doing like a swap club, and I used to swap games in and out every now and then, which was quite good. But then the CD machine got released, and I was just like, well, there's a difference between 200 quid a game or like 50 to 60 quid a game, and I was sold. I thought, right, okay, I'm getting a NeoGeo CD. Whether that was a good idea now when you look back on it, but back in the day, it allowed me to play a hell of a lot more NeoGeo games than I ever did at home on the AES. So I say in '94, the original NeoGeo front loader machine, which always looked pretty nice to be honest, got released in Japan, and then they released a slightly cheaper model, which was the top loading model, which was far more popular. And a year later, which wasn't very long actually, a year later they released the NeoGeo CDZ, which is a bit of a nicer looking design, a bit of a play on the original the sort of top loading one, but this one actually had the advantage rather than dual speed CD-ROM in it. Like the two original models of the NeoGeo CD both had single speed CD-ROMs, and loading did take a while. You know, some of the older, more simpler arcade games, they weren't too bad. Some of them loaded in one go, but a lot of the beat 'em ups, obviously towards the end of its life, it ended up taking they loaded quite a while in between changing characters and stuff. So they released this dual speed version, which is a lot better to be honest. Loading times are a lot quicker, and to be honest, if you think modern gaming and loading times in modern beat 'em ups and games, actually when you look back at it, it's not actually that bad. You know, some of these games load about the same as they do on modern consoles. Not these games, but you know, modern sort of beat 'em ups. So yeah, I've got a few games for the NeoGeo CD. This is pretty much what I managed to pick up. I picked a lot of this stuff up in Osaka when I was there because it was pretty cheap to be honest. Like there were some expensive games there, but there was a lot of cheaper stuff you could pick up. So I picked up what I could while I was there, and I brought it back. So this is the actual machine. As you see, it's a top loading device. It does have a nice little clip on. You put the CD on and you clip it down, and then if you press it down on the top, it releases the CD, which is pretty cool. It puts less stress on the CD unit. So if I bring this a little bit closer to the camera, that's the actual NeoGeo CDZ, which is quite a nice looking unit, I think. You've got your power button and you've got a open button, so that pretty much opens the lid on the console. On the front, you've got your standard two NeoGeo type joystick ports. On the back of the unit, it's got a nice lot of connections. You've got your power connector, which unfortunately is made very specific for this machine. I do need to pick up a second-hand replacement at some point, just as a spare. You've got your DIN plug out, which pretty much gives you RGB, which is rather nice. RGB scat, you can get out of that. You have an S-video, which is rather nice for you American guys out there. So you can get S-video and nice video output straight away. And you've got composite, or composite as I like to call it, output on there as well. What you can do with the RGB as well, I'm pretty sure the RGB output on this is mono only, but what you do, you can shimmy the audio left and right from the back into the SCART head, running through the video from the DIN out, so you get pretty much perfect stereo sound. I say a lot of the NeoGeo arcade boards were mono only, but there was, you know, there were some that were stereo, and you could mod quite a few of the machines. This is the standard NeoGeo pad, nothing like the NeoGeo mini pads, as you may be able to hear. They're very clicky. Nice buttons, very clicky. The NeoGeo mini pads though feel not far off the same, except for the actual clicky stick. The actual, you know, the case sound, they feel very similar. Standard NeoGeo plug. These pads are very nice indeed, but I used to find back in the day, I used to wear through these pads pretty quick and end up breaking the micro switches. But this one survived rather well. As you see, there's a selection of games I've got there. All your NeoGeo joysticks and various other NeoGeo pads will work perfectly on this. What I do have, which is quite a nice addition, I am using my converted Dreamcast arcade stick, which I converted to, I don't know if you can see the connector, just being converted to PS2 and PS3. So it runs lovely on PS2, but to get that working, I have, which you can still pick these up actually, they're quite good, is, when I pick it up, fine, the Tototech PS2 to NeoGeo adapters. These go for about, I think they're about 25 pounds, maybe like 20 or $25. And then you've got to pay for shipping from China, but these things work brilliant, and there's no lag on them either. They're very good indeed. I've got them for a lot of my consoles. I've picked these up. Handy having PS2 because you can get a lot of joysticks and stuff for PS2, but you can get a lot of converters even to this day that convert stuff to PS2. So very handy. So I use that joystick on there with this. And what you can do then as well, you can pick up these extension cables which work on the original NeoGeo as well, because they've got the long end will fit right inside the NeoGeo. These things used to be really cheap back in the day, but now they go for about £10, £12 each. But if you want some extra length on your NeoGeo sticks, and you know everyone loves a bit of extra length, these are the things to pick up. And the other interesting thing, which I did do a review in, I've got the Brook converter for PS4, PS3 to NeoGeo. So basically, if you wanted to, you can either plug a joystick in, which I use my arcade stick on this as well, or you can use a DualShock pad or a PS3 pad, and you can have wireless pads on your Dreamcast on your NeoGeo CD, which is pretty fantastic. I say these, I think they're about £40 to buy, but very handy, and they work pretty brilliant, to be honest. The only thing, like I said in my view, the initial button setup is more for the NeoGeo layout. So you do have to do a little combination to switch it back to more what suits into a modern arcade stick. I say I got quite a few. I picked up quite a few beat 'em ups because I suppose they're quite the cheapest things you can get on the CD. I do have a couple of shoot 'em ups in here as well. A couple of games I picked up which I really like in the series, like Samurai Showdown 4 and Makusa's Revenge. I think that's what that one's called. I love this game on the NeoGeo CD. Brilliant. One of my favourite samurai games. Really fantastic looking as well. World Heroes Perfect, which is the last World Heroes game they released. That's very good as well. What else have we got? As I put my arm in shot. Sonic Wings 3, which is a really nice shoot 'em up. Basically, they did part 2 and they did part 3. I do have a few other games. Like I lately picked up Viewpoint, which is a really nice game on the NeoGeo CD. Yeah, so these machines are pretty fantastic. Unfortunately, they are pretty expensive these days. The NeoGeo Zs, especially, they do go for quite a bit of money. It's a shame I couldn't bring back a boxed version. I could have bought a boxed version, but I couldn't fit it in my suitcase. because I wanted to fit a boxed PC Engine Super Graphics in there, so I had to go for an unboxed one. So I had a pretty nice deal on it, to be honest. I think I paid, it was roughly about £170 I paid for it, which would probably be about, how much would that be in dollars? Maybe $200, maybe somewhere around about that. They go for a lot more now on eBay these days. But very nice machine. The only other thing about the NeoGeo CD is its lifespan. They only really made them for 3 years in Japan, so you don't get the latest NeoGeo games didn't come out here, but a lot of games did. They did up to the last was it Fatal Fury Reabout Special something. It's the one just before Garo Mark of the Wolves that came out on it. Not all the Metal Slugs came out on here. I'm pretty sure only the first two did. This machine did have, it's exactly the same hardware inside here as an actual proper Neo Geo arcade, but it does have less RAM, so it does rely on a lot more loading, and I think there just wasn't enough RAM in the machine really to make some of the later Neo Geo games viable. But like I said, you know, most of the older titles or the stuff like pre sort of 96 tend to work pretty fine on here, to be honest, like with a bit of loading, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so that's the NeoGeo CD. Fantastic machine, and you know, if you want to get into NeoGeo, if you can afford to buy the actual machine, you can buy the games. Unfortunately, some of the games are going up in price these days, but these will pay backups as well. This one does have a few issues with certain backups. There's certain versions that only work on the old NeoGeo CD. You have to have the original, but you can get them patched. So it does play backups if that's an option, if you wanted. But you can pick up originals. There was a couple of NeoGeo CD only titles that were released on this, like Samurai Showdown RPG was one of them, and Brikin'ger was another one, which has now been converted to various other things. And I'm not sure if did Crossroads 2 come out? I'm not sure if Crossroads 2 was a CD only game as well. I could be wrong on that one, mind. You'll have to let me know in the comments. But I think what we'll do next is, say now I've showed you the machine, which is a really nice piece of kit. I will show you a selection of the games that I actually own for this machine. We'll play some of these games on it, and what I'll do is I won't edit out any of the loading. So basically I'm going to play them as it is on the machine. So if you want to get an idea of the loading times against to a single speed NeoGeo CD and a double speed CD, it might be a nice comparison compared to what you've been playing if you own a NeoGeo CD, of course. So we'll get on to that then, and we'll play some NeoGeo games. Why not, innit? Right, and guys, catch you in a minute. Right, guys, you're back. We've got a NeoGeo, actually the CD machine booted up. If you turn the machine on and you put no disc in there, or you leave the door open, which I've got at this moment in time, you get this little CD player. You can get to have a look at the memory, because this does have memory on it, like a little memory card you used to get with the AES machines. So basically you can look at what's actually saved in the menus, like I got Metal Slug, Lost Hope, that type of thing going on here. So basically you can delete these out of memory, so it does have a little bit of a save actually built in, and I think that's just cancel. Goes back to the main menu. You can play music CDs in this machine as well. I do like the little NeoGeo spinning CD and logo that goes around, which is quite cool. Yes, you can play CDs, so if I wait for this to just start up a second, then I pop the lid down. Shouldn't start the game up now, it should actually just boot into the game. You can play all the music tracks off your games. The one thing I really love about the NeoGeo CD, and I loved back in the day, is the remixes they did of the original NeoGeo music. They're amazing on CD. S&K really went to town on almost every CD they ever produced, and just did fantastic remixes of all the tracks. I have no idea what that actually means. Alright, it's cool. Cool, you got a little sort of the logo going on there. So basically you can play any of the music tracks. which is really nice, which is a really nice feature. So basically like your old school CD player, basically. You can play music CDs. Yeah, say the music tracks on NeoGeo CD games are amazing. Right then, so I've put in here Samurai Showdown 4. So this is probably one of the extreme cases of loading because it's a bit of a later game that came out. Can't remember exactly when this game came out, but what I do like about the CD machine is the little loading screens. They did lots of various different things. So obviously you got the little SNK thing spinning around. Sometimes you had little monkeys and it's a juggling monkey and various other things. Sometimes they use the characters from the games, which was really nice. So that's where you get to get the initial load of the game. So we're going to jump straight into it, and we're going to play one start. I say I'll do a quick run through of a lot of games, and you can see what the loading speed's like. I say these versions of games are pretty much like their arcade counterparts. Apparently, I've heard in some cases there's occasional bits of animation missing, but I haven't really noticed much myself. But apparently there is in certain titles, but generally they're pretty much what you were getting in the arcade. Some of the older CD titles, like say things like Magician Lord, and so they just load in one go. You get one initial load, chucks it all into memory, and off you go, basically. So there's a little track scene, which is quite nice. God, I played this game a lot on the NeoGeo CD when I had it. Me and my mate used to play it all the time in doubles. Really do love this version of Samurai Showdown. By the way, if you haven't checked it out, there's a new version of Samurai Showdown on the PS4 and there's things on the Xbox and that as well. Really good, that is. Really nice indeed. You know, SNK back and form, I would say. I love the graphics in this game. It's just a beautiful looking game, I think. Classic 2D sprite artwork and backgrounds. Say Basara is my favourite samurai character. He's really good, he's quite different. He is on the new game now as well. I don't know, there's something about the samurai games about how that each match, you know, it can be decided by one sword slash. They're such tactical sort of fighters, the samurai games. Oh, you got me. Oh. He's going to the death mode. Oh, you got me. It does have the death mode thing, so you can press all 4 buttons at the same time. And you can kill me with it, basically, if you get it. Which I didn't get it. Shizumaru was also on the new game as well. He's a very nice character indeed. So hopefully we'll beat Shizumaru. And then we can see the load to the next fighter. Concentrate now a bit. Ooh. Yeah, he's dead. So we'll load the next fight in, and then we'll chuck a different game in. I'm pretty sure there's a reset in the NeoGeo. We'll double check this out now once we get to the next fighter and we've show the load. It's cool they put lots of different screens and stuff on the loading, so just you know, compared to modern fighting games, let's be honest, the loading's not actually that bad. Alright, if you've got the single play machine, you're probably talking single speed machine, so you're probably talking twice as long. But it's not actually that bad. Maybe it was back in the day compared to an AES, but the games are a hell of a lot cheaper. So that's Samurai, guys. So we'll test this reset. I'm pretty sure if you press 4 buttons together and start, it takes you back to there, and 4 buttons together and select actually resets the game. So what we'll do is we'll swap a game out, and we'll check a different game in. This is quite a nice game actually. For some reason this game seems to have gone up quite a bit lately. This is a pretty nice game on the machine. So if you hear me rustling about, guys, I just got to walk to the other side of the room to sort of it's loading in a minute. Whatever that says. I should get Google Translate on that, shouldn't I? See what it actually says. So this is Sonic Wings 3 or Air Fighter 3. Really nice shoot 'em up on the NeoGeo. Very good indeed. See you get your little character on the plane. So I always wanted a NeoGeo Z when they come out because of the dual speed, but say it's only the last few years I've actually bought one. I do own other NeoGeos. I got the arcade versions of the NeoGeos and cartridges and stuff, but I don't know, just ease of use sometimes having the NeoGeo CD on your side, and the fact that I love the remixes of the music on the NeoGeo CD. So we'll pick the Ninja. Get a little load before the level loads up. Loading pretty reasonable, to be honest. Pretty reasonable indeed. Sometimes with the fighting games like King of Fighters, because you had a couple of fighters, so you get 3 fighters obviously on that, you have to load in between sort of changing characters. It is a little bit of a bummer, but you know, back in the day I could sort of live with that just for the fact I wasn't paying, you know, 200 quid plus or whatever for the cartridge. Not sure if I did a review of this game, I might have. Get the money. The money changes as well, which is quite cool. Depending on what character and where they come from, you get different money symbols. Good thing about this is the team who made this went on to sort of, well, some of the team went on to form Psycho. Did along with the 1941 games. 1941? I probably got that completely wrong. So the Strikers games I was thinking of, sorry. Mine's gone, see, playing this. The Strikers games are really good. They're quite similar to these, to be honest, like. You can definitely see the similarities between the two games. That's the first boss. You'll probably get some load now, I expect. What should I put in next? I know, I'm checking next. Game that is probably my favourite Fatal Fury game. The loading on this is next to nothing, which is really fantastic. Unfortunately, Metal Slug 2, even the turbo version, loading, it does load about 3 times, maybe 4 times between the levels. It does slow the game down a bit, but it's not too bad. So we'll test all 4 buttons out and select, which takes you back to the menu. Cool. And then the start goes back to there. So what we'll do is we'll check out. Let's put. Tell you what, let's set up a classic. We'll check on. Oh, it's actually sealed. Oh, I haven't actually opened this yet. Rubber, it's actually sealed from Japan. I haven't actually opened it. Should have done really, shouldn't I? Actually, it's got the price on this as well. How much I actually paid for it? It's Fatal Fury 2 Special on CD. If I can get the thing open, if I can break the seal on it. May need to get scissors here, guys. Didn't actually play this when I was in Japan. But it's actually got the price on the front. I paid 980 yen. Yen sort of goes to dollars, so it's 10 yen. Sorry, 1,000 yen is pretty much $10. So I paid a little under $10 for this. Tell you what, this is sealed pretty damn good. For that price, this game's pretty good. I'm in there. This looks absolutely perfect. It looks brand new. Here we go, guys. So Fate Fury Special. Do like this. I remember buying the original Fate Fury 2 on the AES when it first came out, and really liking it. But it was a little bit on the basic side. But Special really changed it up and added combos and stuff to it. Right, so we'll check out the loading on this. It was a bit hard work to get into there. Should have prepared myself really for that, shouldn't I? See a different little NeoGeo Cd loading screens. I'm sure they use that loading screen on a few other games. Plus, you want to see the juggling monkey. I like the juggling monkey. There's the initial load. Garo. Mark of the Wolves. Yes, this is not Mark of the Wolves. See, some of the CD games actually had the original NeoGeo sound. I think some of the older games pretty much use the sound chip just like they would in the NeoGeo because the games are quite small. Things like Magician Lord now, the sound is exactly the same as it would be in the arcades. The loading on this is pretty fast as well. I used to play this game a lot. Remember, I had this game for a long time. Ah, I got me. She's dead. What a nice looking level this was. Okay. Yeah, they added combos and stuff to this game compared to the original release of it, and the special added 4 more characters as well. And you can fight, you can be Ryu from Art of Fighting as well, and you basically got to beat the game without losing a round. If you do that, you get to do like a special stage where you can play Ryu. Which is quite a nice little bonus. Damn it. So you say, as you can see with most games, the loading's not actually that bad. Obviously, towards, you know, the bigger games that came out, they were a little bit more of a problem. Duck King. Duck King's level's quite nice on you. It's much better than it was on the original Fate Fury. I do quite like the original Fate Fury. I don't know, I know it's a little bit cheesy and it's nothing like Street Fighter 2. It's a bit cheap, you know, but I don't know, I still quite like that game. So you can live with the loading on this. So I haven't used the original NeoGeo CD for a long time to see what the loading's like, but the dual speed one, I haven't really got a problem with it. It's fine. Trap me in the corner. I can't. He grabbed me. Get me out of every move. Dead. So you get the idea in this, guys. So what I'm going to do is try my newest game I've picked up on the NeoGeo, which I will do a review of at some point. Just obviously I haven't played it quite enough yet to really do a review of it. And it's a bloody hard game as well. So I'll do the reset a minute instead of actually turning the machine off. Just quite nice they built that reset in, to be honest. And it stops the CD almost straight away when you do it, which is quite nice. So this one is a very nice game. I say this is the latest game I've picked up, and it's Viewpoint. Very interesting game for the NeoGeo. Almost looks like it does polygons. It is at a sort of 45-degree angle. It is balls hard. But it is a rather nice game. Did get converted to a couple of different consoles actually. There's a PS1 version which they tried to up the graphics, but didn't really look as good, didn't scroll as good to be honest. But yeah, pretty cool game. Sammy as well made this. It was pretty much gone now, I think. They pretty much went out of business, or they were bought and sort of assembled into another company. I can't remember exactly what went on. I'm pretty sure Sammy had something to do with IREM. I could have just made that up. I don't know. Maybe. Sammy. So we're going to play normal. Pretty much instant loading on this thing. I love that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hit it. Really nice game this is, but I need to practice a little bit on it because it's very hard. I've never actually finished it. It is a rock hard shmup, but it is a fun one. It's a very nice looking game for a NeoGeo as well. It almost looks like it's doing polygons. Everything's like rotating around, and that's quite an impressive looking game. For a machine that couldn't do polygons, you know, to do this game, it looks very good. You just got to get your head around the 45-degree angle. There's a lot of environmental stuff in this game. Bosses are solid as well. But this one looks like it's got a pretty much instant loading. Maybe it's one of those games that actually loads into memory straight away. Say Magician Lord does that, and a few of the older games do it. Well, that's Viewpoint, which is rather nice. So we will play an older fighting game. Actually, when I first owned a NeoGeo Cd, which was, I think it was back a long time ago, when I actually bought one, one of the first games I had with it was King of Fighters 94. I love the King of Fighters games, really good. The crossover games are very good with Capcom as well, especially Capcom SNK 2. That is a fantastic game. So I think we'll leave it as the last game I show. Otherwise this video will be here forever. And I'll give my thoughts on what I think on the NeoGeo CD at the end. Hopefully this gives you a good idea of the loading times on the CDZ. Like if you were thinking of picking up a CDZ over the original machine. I definitely recommend. I know it does cost a little bit more unfortunately, but I would definitely recommend it. Right, I am going to pick. I'm going to pick the Art of Fighting team. And I'm going to have Hayden first. And Clark, then Ralph. Not so fast than Clark on that team, but I do like Hayden and Ralph. See, the King of Fighters games is when you actually start seeing a little bit more loading. Especially the later revisions. I think they did up to King of Fighters 99 on CD. Don't think they did any higher than that, and you start seeing more and more loading and loading per character. But music on the King of Fighters games, the remix of the music is fantastic. There's singing going on now. Really nice looking game this is. King of Fighters 94 is pretty class. A bit more of a sort of a little bit more basic than the newer King of Fighters games, but it does have its charm. Oh, kill me. I say the Japan team's got some fantastic music on this. Oh. Ah, yeah. You actually gonna beat me? Nope. The little guy now. Oh no, I haven't. I got Athena. Forgot about that. Say some of these characters were from previous games. That is actually Athena from the old Athena arcade game. And the Psycho Soldier is a reference back to the original game, Psycho Soldier. Right, we'll see the loading now in between the next fight. Sometimes you had, I think this does you, the end screen, you get a little bit of loading. But do you want just, just a quick and easy way for me to play Neo Geo? This machine's pretty good. Otherwise, I need to plug my arcade board up, then to get my Super Gun plugged in. Cool. Fatal Fury team. So I want to see the juggling monkey. I like the juggling monkey. Do like hiding. Should bring him back to the price 13. I don't think he's on it. Not 13. Not 14. 13 was awesome. Brilliant game, guys. Ah, Hayden's dead. But anyway, guys, that pretty much is the NeoGeo CD. What do I say about this console? Obviously, compared to an actual NeoGeo AES system where you got no loading essentially, cartridge in the top. It's not going to be as good as that, but they did do some fantastic remakes of all the music in Neo Geo games, which I love. Some of the CD tracks are amazing. It is a cheaper alternative of playing Neo Geo originals if you actually want to play on original hardware, especially back in the day when I was paying 200 quid a cartridge or 50 quid a CD. For somebody who didn't have much money at the time, it was a bit of a no-brainer. Yeah, I really like the NeoGeo CD. I think it's a pretty cool machine. It's quite a nice alternative to the, AES or the arcade hardware. I think the CDZ is definitely one to pick up if you want, loading times not to be nowhere near as bad. The CDZ, is quite comparable to modern day console gaming, to be truthfully honest. Like, modern day console gaming, loading times have come back, haven't they, over the last 10-15 years. We went away from tape loading and taking 5 minutes to load in, or a couple of minutes, and then we went back to sort of like modern fighting games like Tekken takes almost a minute in between rounds to load in, which, if you're taking that sort of comparison, this NeoGeo CD actually don't load that bad at all, really. But yeah, it's a nice little unit to say you can use all your original joysticks and joypads, plus get converters and everything for it. It does output an RGB, S video and comp shit. So, you're pretty covered with all the output these days. This machine was basically Japanese only, the CDZ. So it never got released anywhere else, but it did get imported all around the world. So it is smaller than the original top loader. I used to have an original top loader. little bit more bulky, but I think this one's a bit nicer. And yeah, I recommend this. A really nice machine. If you do want a NeoGeo CD and you're looking basically to NeoGeo on original hardware at a bit of a cheaper cost, you know, either a NeoGeo CDZ worth paying the extra money, to be honest, for the faster loading, or you know, some cheap arcade hardware and a 161 in one cartridge is pretty much a way to go, and that's, you know, you're playing on original hardware then. But yeah, I definitely recommend the NeoGeo CD. It's really cool, and I like it, and I will be collecting more games for it. Just the one unfortunate little thing is the games have started on going up in price these days. I think Sonic Wings, last time I looked on eBay, it was going for about 90 quid. So like, I didn't pay nowhere near as much as that. I'm pretty sure when I picked Sonic Wings 2 up, I paid 25 quid for it. I think I bought it for. It wasn't much more now. I think maybe 30 quid. It wasn't too crazy, but it's gone way up in price. But like I said, these machines do play backups, so there is that option if you want to save an extra bit of money. Seems all these games are not commercially viable anymore. But yeah, NeoGeo CD, thumbs up. I really like it. Definitely the CDZ machine, really good. So, guys, get on the Atari Age forums anyway, and jump on the NeoGeo Thread. I will put a link in the video to the NeoGeo Thread, and say it gets updated daily, basically, with lots of NeoGeo news and videos and various other things on there. It's definitely worth a look, and everyone on the forum, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you soon with something else. So bye now.